Hey guys, welcome to my new series, Deserted. I'll be following a deserted place from the idea through construction, the downfall, and the future. I'll pick the next video based off the comments, so leave your suggestions. I picked the first video of a deserted theme park near where I live, so let's get started. Long before Kings Island became the go-to summer attraction for thousands in southwest Ohio, there was LeSourdsville Lake Amusement Park. The park was built by Middletown, Ohio resident Edgar Struthville. Edgar wanted to turn the former LeSourdsville Village ice manufacturing facility into a clean place to swim and picnic with the family. Construction started in 1921. Edgar and his business partner, Bill Rothfuss, built a bathhouse, a restaurant, a dance hall, and a bridge crossing the abandoned Miami-Erie Canal that passed through the property, linking the parking lot and the park. They also constructed a concrete bottom in the man-made lake for swimming, and then constructed cabins around the lake, and the Edgar brother Ernest replaced Bill as his partner. LeSourdsville Lake Amusement Park opened on May 8, 1922, as a family, picnic, and campground. Park admission was 10 cents. It was 25 cents to swim and 10 cents for a dance per couple. LeSourdsville Lake was open for business and attracting thousands of residents. The Great Depression did not slow Edgar in expansion of his offerings. He expanded the bathhouse, installed a new parking lot, and built the park's first office building, and imported 1,000 tons of white sand for the beach. But due to the Depression, admission prices, food prices, and employee wages were cut. Before the park opened for the 1934 seasons, the fire destroyed the bathhouse. Edgar wanted to rebuild a new bathhouse before the park opened in May. He went to Middletown Lumber Company and got help from a draftsman, Don Daisy. On May 30th, the park opened with a new bathhouse. Don Daisy convinced Edgar that dances could be extremely popular. He listened and constructed the Stardust Gardens next door to the bathhouse, and some of the best bands of the time performed. Also, area companies began to hold their picnics at the park and began a tradition that lasted until the park closed. Edgar also added 2 toboggan water slides, a water wheel, 7 diving boards, and a 20-foot high platform for diving. In 1939, Edgar purchased a 1927 John Miller wooden roller coaster from Mahoxala Amusement Park in Zanesville, Ohio, for $35,000. The coaster was rebuilt and named the Cyclone. The 1940s was a peak for the park. In 1941, the park added the Whip and Ferris wheel to its thrill ride lineup, and Edgar also built a new front entrance and added a section of new midway near the entrance to the Cyclone. After World War II, the park continued to grow. In 1947, 2 steam-lined trains were added to the Cyclone, and a kiddie racing ride was also installed. On July 4th, 1947, the park had its largest one-day turnout in its history when 30,000 people came through its front gate. Big bands popular in 1947 continued to perform at Stardust Gardens. Major improvements were visible at LeSourdsville Lake upon its opening in 1949. A masonry building was built next to the Cyclone entrance. New rides and attractions including the Fun Parade and a Penny Arcade. The 1950s. LeSourdsville Lake image began to decline from its peak in the previous decade. Big bands were no longer an everyday occurrence. Edgar expanded the bathhouse to accommodate a large number of swimmers the park serviced every year. The brick addition to the bathhouse also provided a fire-resistive barrier at an amusement park. Edgar and Don realized that more and more had to be done to modernize LeSourdsville Lake. Disneyland opened in 1955, and the public had expected other parks to become just as modern and clean. The park decided to take a loan and initiate a multi-year improvement plan. Several small changes were made, including a stone tower and fountain at the main entrance. Edgar and Don were ready to enter 1959 with a new vision, but then, in June of 1959, Don Daisy died. Edgar was lost without Don's ability to work personally with the staff and customers. Edgar's role had mainly been behind the scenes, developing new revenue sources for the park and developing a plan for the park's future. A local bank required Edgar to immediately pay off his outstanding loan. Edgar decided he did not want to take a chance of taking on another partner he couldn't get along with, so the expansion plans were dropped and the park was put up for sale. The 1960s ushered in a new age for the 40-year-old park. Former Cedar Point concessionaires Howard Burney and Frank Muru were successful in their purchase of the park for $550,000. They took over in 1961 and quickly restarted their renovation efforts that had been halted when Don Daisy died. Middletown resident Bill Barr became a partner in the park and contributed his creative ideas and endless energy to help make LeSourdsville Lake the favorite park for hundreds and thousands of locals. Big band names were slowly replaced by radio personalities and a host of television stars, movie celebrities, and music acts. By the mid-1970s, LeSourdsville Lake was drawing in about 600,000 patrons annually. The opening of Kings Island, just a few miles away, in 1972, didn't dampen the spirits of Howard Burney. "We wish them luck," he said. "The first year we may feel a little pinch because the local people will be curious, but we do not anticipate it will be to the point where it will bother our business. On the other hand, if Kings Island will bring in tourists, we will benefit from the overflow. We aren't going to fade away. They have the worries, not us." Bill Barr retired to Italy, and park veteran Bill Robinson took over some duties left by Barr. Bill Robinson's knack for producing interesting promotions enabled the park to enjoy large crowds. Some of the more novel promotions developed by Barr included the 1976 designation as the country's only official bicentennial amusement park, the Coca-Cola Radio Rock and Rollin' Remember concerts, and the Jello Jump, where contestants jumped into a huge barrel of gelatin to find the winning key to a new car. In 1978, the name of the park was changed to Americana Amusement Park, the Great American Amusement Park. And the Cyclone became the Screeching Eagle. Along with the name change came a $3.5 million three-year renovation to keep the park a viable alternative to Kings Island. The recession in the early 1980s began affecting park attendance. As a result, gate admission was reduced from almost $7 down to $5.50 in 1982. The park maintained attendance of 500,000 and began struggling with money. On January 8, 1990, an electrical fire broke out in the bathhouse in Stardust Gardens Ballroom. As a result, almost $5 million in losses, including the first aid office, arcades, games building, locker rooms, and food concessions. Ride parts and cars from the Rocco Plane flying scooters, bumper buggies, and 2 kiddie rides were destroyed. The park quickly enlisted the assistance of local labor unions to rebuild the area in time for the April opening, with the payment to come later in the summer. Meanwhile, the park began experiencing problems with the insurance company regarding a multi-million-dollar claim. The hiring of local students and senior citizens is always a challenge because competition of other attractions in the area. To help keep up with the problem, the park entered an agreement with a Mexican college to hire Mexican students for the summer. The plan fell apart and the park experienced a lot of negative media coverage regarding claims of students of poor living conditions in the dorms and illegal working conditions. The local unions who normally booked the picnics at the park suddenly canceled their lucrative picnic outings due to the allegations, and the park began a deep decline of attendance and revenue. By the end of the season, attendance reached an all-time low of under 200,000. The park later learned that its insurance company would only pay $3 million in claims, leaving the park to pick up the remaining $2 million in expenses. In December, the park was forced to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. By spring 1991, the park was purchased and reopened by Leisure International, a group of former park management. Leisure International spent an additional $6 million to upgrade landscaping infrastructure throughout the park. By 1995, they realized that a bigger company with more capital would be needed to continue upgrading the park, so Americana was put up for sale. In 1996, Park River Corporation, owner of Coney Island and Cincinnati, purchased Americana for an estimated $3 million. Between 1996 and 1998, over $1 million was spent on upgrading the Screeching Eagle roller coaster and introducing new merchandise line with a gift shop in 1997. Park owner Ronald Walker died unexpectedly, and his family members expressed concern about the future of the park. The park was quietly listed for sale in 1998. In December of 1999, informational letters regarding the 2000 season passes were distributed across the area. In a shocking announcement on January 6, 2000, Park River announced the closing of the park for the 2000 season. On May 24, 2000, Hamilton businessman Jerry Couch purchased the park from Park River Corporation. He said he would change the name to Couch's Americana Amusement Park at LeSourdsville Lake out of respect for the park's 77-year-old history. Initial plans called for a year-round facility with Halloween and Christmas activities, construction of a campground, the opening of Couch's camper store and on the property, and new food services. Couch hired the Pooh management team to manage the park side of things. When the park opened to the public on June 5th, the name of the park was once again changed to LeSourdsville Lake. A park spokesperson stated the name change was done because that's how people remember it. The name was changed because of a threat of legal action against the park by Great American Financial Company, owners of Cincinnati's Coney Island. After experiencing a successful summer, the park unexpectedly closed a week prior than planned and announced it was looking for a new management company to operate the park in 2003. The Pooh team had filed for bankruptcy and failed to pay some of the park employees' wages due to them. Rides brought in earlier in the year were repossessed after the season ended due to non-payment by the Pooh management group. On January 24th, 2003, Couch's LeSourdsville Lake RV Supercenter held its grand opening at the park. The park's old dormitory was used during the 1990 season, was remodeled and made part of the new store and showroom. With the opening of the Supercenter, we are one step closer to fulfilling our ultimate goal of establishing an RV amusement park combination, said Couch in a Middletown Journal interview. In April, local media began questioning the status of the park for 2003. After several days passed, the Middletown Journal reported the park may open for the 2003 season. That's definitely a possibility that we could open this year. I'm not saying that it will, said a publicist with Expo Management ad agency in Cincinnati, which was hired to handle marketing for Couch's camper company. On a press release stated that several options were being considered for the park, including updating the rides for a more competitive atmosphere, or running the park with a new management team, or 3, selling the park. Couch filed a lawsuit against the Pooh management team for non-payment of bills and rental fees totaling more than $100,000. The courts dismissed the lawsuit because the management company had filed for bankruptcy. Couch stopped trying in 2004. Carl Jennings announced that he was seeking to purchase the park. A deal could not be reached with Couch. On May 17, 2006, Couch drove the final nail in the coffin when he announced that most of the rides would be sold and the park would not open as a traditional amusement park in the future. The park sat rotting for years while urban explorers documented its decay. Vandals also broke in and destroyed the park. The park was featured on the History Channel's Life After People, the series. The show explored how weathering and eating away at the park would be unrecognizable in 20 years without human maintenance. One of the closed rides, the Screeching Eagle, was featured in Life After People and collapsed 20 years after the disappearance of humans. The ride would not make it that far as it was torn down in 2011. Couch expressed fear that something terrible would happen with trespassers visiting the park. Parts of the track and train were sent to the Roller Coaster Museum in Texas. In early 2015, Jerry Couch retired and closed his RV showroom. Buildings and parts of the rides in Americana portion of the park, as well as Fantasy Farm, were left abandoned and vandalized over time. In 2017, Butler Tech announced that it had purchased Americana's parking lot and adjoining former Fantasy Farm amusement park land to develop into a campus. The Fantasy Farm Motel, former Fantasy Farm restaurant, and buildings were not included in the sale. Jerry Couch donated the former LeSourdsville Americana Park land to the city of Monroe, who is currently developing the former park into a city park and regional bike trail. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a video suggestion for the next video. I'll see you guys next time.